Hi everyone, Jamie here. Welcome back to my garden. I'm actually about to go on a field trip today. I'm really excited about it. I can't believe it's taken me this long to get there. I am headed only about 6 miles away from here to go to the UC Davis Botanical Conservatory. I think it is just the coolest thing. These, UC Davis has an amazing arboretum. If you don't know, I live in Davis, California. They have a fantastic outdoor arboretum, but they also have a botanical conservatory, which is actually an indoor facility in a greenhouse that holds about 4,000 rare and unusual plants. And they have them there not only so that the public, people like you and myself, can go and see, actually get our eyes on these super interesting plants, but it also serves as a place, kind of like a scientific lab for botanists and scientists from UC Davis. So I am so lucky I got a chance to get a tour with Marlene, aka the plant lady, and I'm about to head there and meet her right now. All right, everyone, I am at the UC Davis Botanical Conservatory, and I want to introduce you to the famous plant lady, Marlene Simon. Hi, Marlene.
Hi, welcome. Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for having us here. I have lived in Davis for, I want to say 12, 13 years, and this is my first time being here.
Yeah, we hear that a lot. We have people who've worked on campus for 30 years and don't know we exist. Because from the outside, we don't look like much.
Right.
But once you come inside, it's pretty darn magical.
Oh my goodness,
Yes.
You are not kidding. I took a quick walk around just to look at everything. This is a plant lover's paradise. Like, you are the manager here, is that right? And you get to spend your whole day in these greenhouses?
Sadly, sometimes I feel like I don't even step inside of them. I mean, yes, anyone who manages know that sometimes I don't get to work with the plants every day, but I'm around them and I work with great people.
Oh, so tell me about the conservatory. From what I know, you guys have almost 4,000 rare and unusual plants for the public to see, right?
Yeah, so we're currently doing a count, which is really fun on its own. We think we have close to 4,000 different species.
Oh, okay.
Not all of them, of course, are rare, but we do have incredibly rare specimens. Our mission is to provide plants for students and labs. So a lot of our plants will go to labs, so students don't have to see just a picture. They could see an actual live specimen. So if a professor wants it for a lab, we will try to grow it. And then, of course, we are a living museum. Yeah. A lot of our plants are rare, so we're a bank of genetic material. We're open to the public for outreach. We have anywhere from kindergartners to master gardeners, and just everyday people just come and see the wonders. So we cram a lot in here.
Yeah, that is an understatement.
Yes.
Tell me about your plant sales too.
We are resuming our plant sales, and we picked a date of April 19th, and it will be between 10 and 2.
Yes.
And we're currently working on being able to take credit cards. Woohoo!
Woohoo! Well,
no Venmo, no PayPal, sorry. And our big plant that everyone seems to be the most excited about is we will be selling Welwitschia.
Yeah, that's the one that's on my list. I was waiting for you to say that.
Yes, and I'm sure we'll see that.
Yep, we'll show you guys in a second what we're talking about, but it is the most interesting plant. I can't even say I've seen it because I haven't seen it yet.
Oh yeah, well you'll see it. Yes.
All right. So tell me about this room that we're in. This is kind of the entrance.
Yeah, we call this the hallway. So it's tropical. So there's plants from all over different tropics, and we try to keep the humidity about 85% ideal. It's a little difficult to do that in here. And we have a lot of epiphytic plants, of course, plants that grow up in the canopies of trees. And that includes epiphytic cacti that a lot of people don't realize that cacti they grow in the tropics, but they grow as epiphytes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we have the ripsalis right here, which is an epiphytic cacti. A lot of people know the epiphyllum that get beautiful, gorgeous flowers like most cacti do. This one doesn't, gets cute little white flowers. But yeah, so there are tropical cacti. And there's staghorn ferns and different orchids and, of course, aroids.
Yeah. And so who cares for all these plants? Is it staff? Is it student volunteers?
There are 2 full-time staff people, me included, and my coworker. And I have 6 wonderful part-time student workers. And once a year, I do a internship program where this quarter I have 12 students. and they do a little bit of work in here. And then I have some really great retired volunteers.
Oh, that's amazing. This, like just walking in here, just outside on the other side of the door, just behind me, it's like a whole different world. It's like we've been transported to the rainforest or something like that.
I have students who come in every day for stress relief.
Yeah, I can see that. I can absolutely see that.
All right, so we're going to go into the desert room where our oldest Welwitschia is at. But, of course, there's other wonderful plants as well.
Okay,
we have to, show those off as well.
Of course. All right, so we went from pretty high humidity to a little bit cooler. Is that right?
Yeah, so this time of year, you won't have the extreme temperatures. In fact, we've just increased the temperatures. We try to mimic what the plants will be experiencing out in their native land. So for the winter, we dropped the temperature down and we stopped watering, which is always a little scary.
Yeah.
A lot of our plants in this room are caduciform plants.
And what does that mean?
Means they have a swollen base here. It's called a caudex.
Okay.
And in the wet season, they put on a lot of green vines with leaves. And then in the dry season, the leaves and the stems fall off because, of course, leaves have more stomata. They lose water when they're photosynthesizing, and then they revert to stem photosynthesis. And we like to say, what's stomata with you? We like plant puns here. We need new plant puns. We're always looking for new ones.
Well, I like it. I like it so far.
So a lot of plants from the deserts look like this.
Oh my gosh, look at that. So that's just to survive with the low water.
And it can actually photosynthesize. If I were to scrape right underneath, you see how green it is?
Yeah.
So it won't photosynthesize as well as leaves, but it'll get them through the dry season.
It'll get it through. Wow. And some of these have pretty spiky thorns on them.
Some nice thorns. Here we have the Dendrocechius. This is a rare plant. It's coming out of dormancy, and it's the only tree in the cucumber family.
What?
Yeah, it's not edible.
Okay.
We produce seed. We cross-pollinate between two large specimens we have. It's from the island of Socotra, which is off of Ethiopia.
Wow. How do you get these specimens? How do you get them?
Yeah, so the conservatory's been around since 1959.
Okay.
And how collections came about was professors were doing research. We had a large collection of euphorbias because a professor was doing research on that. We have some wild collected bananas, same reason. And then as our mission of supplying plants for classes sort of grew, we reached out to institutions. So now we cross and trade with basically institutions and other botanic gardens for things that we think will add to the collection.
Yeah, plus that's probably a level of security for these plants, right?
Yeah, well, and for me, there's nothing more terrifying than having a plant to be given to you and saying, here, this is the only one in the world.
Oh my goodness.
Which we have a few of. So we quickly try to, of course, multiply that to send it out because I believe, as most true botanists believe, there should not be a rare plant ever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we have truly rare plants. You know, sometimes there are Instagram rare plants, but truly rare plants where the habitat is seriously threatened. They're not in the wild anymore. And the whole goal is to not have them be extinct.
So you're almost like, I don't want to say a seed bank, but like a
genetic bank.
Genetic bank.
A genetic bank.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. So the 4,000 different species, we have so many different families, and some sadly you won't see out in the wild.
Okay. Now tell me about the Welwitschia.
Yes. So let's go. It's behind you.
Oh, it is?
So yes, we have 4 in here if you want to wander.
Okay. So this is a plant that's very, oh, I see it. I'm like.
So there's 2 here.
Oh, I've been so excited to see these. These are the most interesting, weirdest plants I think I've ever heard of. Tell me about it.
So this is our oldest one.
Okay.
And this one we believe is close to 80. We received it back in 1968, so it was already. They're gymnosperms, meaning they do not produce flowers, they produce cones. And they're dioecious, meaning it's either a male or a female plant. So you have one that produces male cones and one that produces female cones, which isn't that rare. But the most unusual thing is it will only ever get 2 leaves its whole entire life. And that is incredibly unusual.
So these leaves,
these are leaves. Yes.
That's
so
it.
This is 1 leaf. And this is another leaf. And over time they split.
Okay.
And if you think of it like hair, it grows from the base right here out. Where most plants, their leaves do not have this tissue called meristematic tissue. Stems do, and that's what enables stems to do continuous growth.
Okay.
There are some leaves that have it. That's why you could root an African violet leaf or a begonia leaf for the most part, because they have a little bit of that tissue. That's what allows continuous, indeterminate growth.
Wow.
And so they never fall off. They just grow and grow. And we believe that they're curly is they grow along the Namib Desert, coastal desert. And so fog will creep in, condense, hit the sides, and it'll get a surface water. Oh. Along with having an incredibly deep, deep tap root.
So these containers that they're in, they're very, very tall, and that's to support its root?
Yes. So we transplanted these, I want to say about 2 years ago. They were in terracotta tubes, like pipes, for 47 years. Oh my God. And we transplanted them, and all that remained was just a single tube of roots and a little bit of sand. And now we have them in pure pumice.
Okay.
We could get away with that because we run our fertilizer through our water.
Oh, okay.
So every time we water, they get a little bit of fertilizer. Most people most people who get their hands on a Welwitschia, which it's incredibly rare to be able to do so, treat it like a standard succulent and don't water it enough. Oh. They have the capability of only producing fibrous roots, so they don't need to grow in a deep, deep pot. And we water ours twice a week during the summer and once during the winter. And during the winter, we don't water our cacti in here or our spiny euphorbs at all. So you can see how it requires more water than most.
Absolutely. So let me ask you about the was it meristem tissue and so how do you guys propagate these? How do you
seed?
Oh, by seed.
We have enough mature males and females that we get them to cone at the same time, and we move pollen one to the other. Because our collection is so large, we usually have a male and female coning at the same time.
Wow.
So that's the only way. There is talk and dreams of doing meristematic tissue cloning, which we would take a little section of and be able to. But at this point, I don't want to cut into any of ours.
Because that's it, right? That's your one chance.
Yeah, I mean, we could, in theory, cut all these leaves off and they would still grow back.
Oh, okay.
So the plant wouldn't be damaged. But anytime you cut into a plant, you run the risk of inviting a bacteria and fungus and infection. And we haven't needed to yet because we're so good at it.
And you can do seeds, which is just incredible. I have to say, I'm so excited to see these plants because I've heard about them and I've seen them on your guys' Instagram because you guys have, what do you call it, Welwitschia Wednesday?
Yes, Ryan, student, who's great with Instagram. And I will show you, I will take you to the off-limits staff greenhouse and see our variegated one.
Oh my gosh.
And our two-headed one and our one-leafed one.
Oh my gosh.
And all the seedlings that will be for sale.
Gosh, you know how to make somebody excited.
All right, so we're in the room with some of our carnivorous plants, and just like a lot of the succulents you see, they're not related. It's convergent evolution. Out of necessity, carnivorous plants have developed ways of getting insects, and that way is by having their leaves form into traps. And the first one I will show off is the Nepenthes. So this is the pitcher plant. And when this opens, underneath here, there's nectar. And, of course, insects love it, and they explore, and then they fall down into there. And there's water, because it's the tropics, and they drowned. Yeah. And there's digestive juices.
Oh, boy.
I don't think we're getting any out. I always like to show. This one, you could see the grossness or the awesomeness, either way you want to look at it. And so you can see the differences in size. They've been known to even trap like small monkeys, rats, snakes. I've
heard a bird before.
Oh, that's sad. There's some that don't eat. There's one that relies on a shrew, so the shrew will sit with its butt hanging over, and as it's eating what the Nepenthes is providing, it's pooping. So the plant gets shrew poo.
Okay, well, that's a good commingling.
Yes, exactly. Symbiotic relationship.
There you go. There you go.
So those are the Nepenthes, and then dormant right now, we have hundreds and hundreds of Sarracenias. And these are the American pitcher plants. Instead of water, the insects just fall in, get wedged down in there, and then they die a slow, horrible death. But there are some species that will release a little narcotic that will make them loopy. And I've tried. I hate hearing them like suffer, so I'll release some out, and then they go right back in there. So I'm like, hey.
Okay, well, you know what? Survival of the fittest, right? Tell me about this beautiful plant.
Yeah, these are our lady slipper orchids, Paphiopedilums, and they're not carnivorous, but what happens is right there is supposed to be an aphid. If I had an aphid that big in my garden, I'd be freaking out.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Hoverflies want to lay their babies by aphids because that's food source.
Yeah.
But it's slippery, so the adult hoverfly falls down. There's water in here. It can't fly out, and it is forced to climb up a ladder of hairs. And it just so happens that it's by the reproductive structures, of course. So it gets the pollen, goes to another one, deposits the pollen. I joke it's like being forced to exit through the gift shop.
Yeah, right? It's kind of an intense way to get pollinated.
Yes. So yeah, they're in their peak bloom right now.
They're gorgeous. They're absolutely beautiful. I mean, you can tell that it's an orchid, but it just looks so different than a normal orchid.
It's called lady slipper orchid because if you turn it to the side, it looks like an old-fashioned lady
I
slippers.
see it. Oh, isn't that beautiful? So this room is noticeably cooler.
Yeah.
Is that just for the winter, just to make everything?
No, in the summer, the difference between the succulent room, the desert room, and here is probably about 50 degrees.
Wow.
So this is more of what you would experience in maybe like a cloud forest type environment where it's cooler year round.
Wow. Tell me about this big plant right behind you with the curly leaves.
Oh, this is called, it has the common name of the pimple fern.
Yes.
Because, ferns have sori, and it just happens that their sori are in these indentations. So it makes for a really interesting looking plant.
It really is a beautiful plant.
Oh, yeah, it's gorgeous.
It's really, really gorgeous.
Okay, so this is Chrysandra.
Okay.
We call it the firecracker plant.
Beautiful color.
It is pretty. It's a salmon-y color.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
And when we're talking about seed distribution, how seeds get moved around, of course, animals eat them, poop them out, birds move them, wind, water. This one has something called ballistic dispersal. Ballistic.
Okay, well, hold on. She's got seeds in my hand.
Oh, technically, it's the fruit.
Oh, the fruit?
Yes, fruit, right? And then when it rains, let's see what happens. There we go.
So what's that doing? Just dispersing?
A little water, seeps in, pressure builds, and it blows the seed away. So it only wants to release seed when it has rainwater. And the seeds will swell up as well, and then adhere. They have little burrs once they swell up, so they could stick onto animals and move even further away from. Yeah, I always joke that, the whole purpose is you want to grow up and move away from mom and dad. Yeah. And same with plants. Of course, I tell students nowadays, no, live with them forever. And let them pay the rent.
Let them pay for you. That's good advice, especially here. Yeah. Oh, this is the coolest thing.
I think they all released. Okay. Yeah, I think you can just do that.
Yep. Oh, I love that. Oh, that was quite an experience.
Yeah, it's always a fan favorite for kids.
You got to do a slow-mo of that
that'd be cool.
on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
That'd be so neat.
I'm not that savvy. Whoa, now you're like speaking crazy talk.
All right, so this area looks like it's one of those very expensive houseplant stores with your variegation.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
How neat. Okay, so tell me about this room.
So this is the main tropical room.
Okay.
So we try to keep it warm and humid. Sometimes, of course, in the winter, these buildings are really old. They're from 1959. We're in another process of trying to get a new conservatory, but until then, we make do.
Yeah.
And right above you, I don't know if you could see this. There is a plant called Osa pulchra.
Oh.
And a lot of people are like, wait a minute, I know that's a brugmansia. It does look like angel's trumpet brugmansia.
It's not?
It's not. This one's in the coffee family, and it's from a small region in Costa Rica, the Osa region. And I say, isn't this Osa pretty? It's rare because it's from a small area, habitat, of course, destruction. And it is a perfect flower, meaning it has both male and females, but it's self-incompatible, meaning it won't pollinate itself.
Oh, okay.
So you need two separate plants.
Oh.
And every institution around us has the same clone.
Oh, no.
And it's also really difficult to propagate from cuttings. We managed to do it a few times,
But that still counts as a clone.
It still counts as a clone.
Oh, no.
So we're hoping, I think I have a lead on a botanic garden that may have a different clone.
Oh,
so
my gosh.
it'd be great.
So that's a lot of pressure to try and...
Yeah. Luckily, well, it's one of these plants will go through, it'll cycle its leaves out.
Okay.
So for some reason, all of a sudden, it'll just start dropping its leaves. And you're like, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
And it's also an aphid magnet, which is okay.
Which is okay.
Yeah, we're not so paranoid about aphids. But see how long the nectar tube is? It's pollinated by a bat with, of course, a tongue that long.
Wow.
Some theories are it's a moth with a foot-long tongue, like a Darwin moth. But
okay.
It's probably most... So at night, it's very fragrant.
Oh, how fun. Wow. So what do you guys do if you get pests in an enclosed space like this?
Oh, we do. We have pests.
Okay.
And if you have houseplants, you're going to get pests.
Oh, yeah.
So our pests are run-the-mill of various mealybugs, spider mites, thrips, aphids, and various scale.
Mm-hmm.
And we want them to a certain extent because we have a lot of beneficials established in here.
Okay.
We have various parasitic wasps for mealybugs.
Do?
Yeah.
Wow.
Parasitic wasps for soft scale. And we used to rear our own mites, predatory mites.
Yeah.
Now I just order them and bring them in. So I bring predatory mites in for various pests, and I bring in Cryptolaemus for mealybugs and Incarcia for whiteflies, which isn't a big problem, but it keeps them in check.
Yeah.
So when I'm monitoring, I will take a hand lens and look for the signs of parasitism.
Okay.
And if there's a lot, then I won't spray.
Okay.
We do have to spray periodically because our plants are very rare.
You have
and
to
we have
protect.
to, yeah. Especially some of our succulents are really susceptible to it.
Okay.
Like it's almost like a no pest policy. But we do targeted sprays. So if it's a stylet pump pest like your phloem suckers, like your mealybugs and aphids, we will get one that will be a feed distributor, meaning a basically disruptor. Basically, it'll make them starve and they can't.
Got it.
Or a juvenile growth hormone. So we don't want to spray anything that's going to harm our beneficials.
Okay.
We've tried certain things like going very soft with like cinnamon oils. I joke it just made this place smell like cinnamon.
Yeah,
and
which might be nice.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. I'm sure it killed some, but certain things like the barnacle scale that we've just started getting, there is no predatory insect on the market or available.
So what do you guys do?
So that one we do have to do a spray.
Okay.
And you want to, of course, get it when it's immature.
Yeah.
Or we'll just wipe off. I'm a big believer in taking a hose and blasting things off.
Yeah.
We do have the benefit of being able to prune to remove a lot of the pests if something's attacking it. But a hose spray goes a really long way. And, of course, controlling the ants because the ants will then farm the good insects. And if we release a parasitic wasp right where there's a whole bunch of ants, they're going to, of course, make that wasp go away. So we control the ants.
Okay.
So it's a balance. We have pests. We know it. People will point out, oh, you have mealybugs there. I'm like fully aware of it.
Totally.
Sometimes they're dead and, it still looks like there's mealybugs.
Yeah.
So it's ongoing.
I can imagine just such beneficial climates, it's like, what a wonderful place to live for a mealybug. You know what I mean? Like, how difficult must it be to control
and
them?
I think there is I'm not sure about this. I've tried to find the answer, secondary toxicity. So sometimes when I release a beneficial, say on the cycads are carcinogenic and they have nerve toxins. Mealybugs seem to be fine with them, but I can't get the Cryptolaemus, the mealybug destroyer, to go on there. So they might be getting a secondary toxicity. I'm not sure. But so some things like that happen where you just release them and they just aren't going after them on certain plants. We have vanilla orchid.
Oh my.
And this one is about to bloom. There's a whole bunch of inflorescence. And I'll show you so
this is where the vanilla beans come from.
Yes, and there's ants, which I have to control right now. They're probably going after little nectar droplets. So if you've ever bought vanilla beans, you know how expensive they are. The reason being, they grow them in the canopies of trees, of course, in the tropics. They don't flower that much. The flowers are only viable for a few hours in the morning. And unlike pollinating a squash where it's loose pollen and it's easy, the orchids have their pollen in these little sacs called pollinia, and it's under a flap, and the stigma's under a flap. So you have to move both flaps
Oh boy.
And then it takes 9 months for the beans to ripen.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why they're very expensive.
Super simple, right?
But yeah, in the other greenhouse, we have an orchid blooming, and we'll be able to see it. It's not the
gosh.
most showy.
Yeah, but who cares? It's so fun to see that kind of stuff. So tell me about you guys pollinating this plant. You guys, do you do it with like a paintbrush or something like that?
No, more like a toothpick or something, because all we have to do is move the flap and move the other flap and then force the stigma onto the stamen.
In real life, how does this get pollinated?
There are bees that will do it, but they're very bad at it. And most of the cultivated vanilla is not grown where those bees are at.
So it has
human.
to be here. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And it was developed this way by a 12-year-old slave boy on the island of Reunion in the 1860s. And so that we're still doing it that way.
Wow. Yes. Well, that's pretty neat.
And it's growing on our chocolate tree.
I was going to say, what are these little bean things here?
Yeah, this is chocolate, Theobroma cacao.
Wow.
We have to hand pollinate this as well, but it's much easier.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that's overripe fruit. We leave it on for demonstration purposes.
Wow.
But this one we cut open so you could see where the fleshy part around it is what the monkeys will eat. And then here are the beans.
Wow.
That, of course, have it's where we get chocolate.
Yeah. So these are what we roast.
Yes.
And
crush. The animals don't want to eat it because there's a secondary metabolite called theobromine, which is the stimulant, and which is caffeine-like.
Okay.
And that is what's toxic to dogs and certain animals, and what sort of like gives us, like when we eat chocolate, a little bit of a
everybody's
happy
after you eat. You can't be upset after you eat chocolate.
Exactly.
Wow, how neat.
Yeah. This is the world's smallest water lily.
Oh my.
And what's interesting, what I find most fascinating here is a student a few years ago came to me and said, hey, I want to get the world's smallest water lily. It's very rare.
Oh my.
And I said, okay, if you could source it. And he found it. Missouri Botanic Gardens had it, and Kew at the time were the only two.
Wow.
And Missouri was nice enough to send us a few. We got one to survive. It's very rare. It's from Rwanda. And now, of course, Kew is so good at growing plants that they're spreading it everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the world's smallest water lily.
Wow.
And in a bit, we'll see the world's second largest water lily, which is also started by a student.
Oh my. Okay. So what room are we in now?
Well, this is now Victoria's room. This was a cool growing succulent room. And I had a student who said, hey, can I grow the world's second largest water lily, Victoria Amazonica? And I said, if you could find the seed, sure. He found the seed.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't think he was going to germinate it. He did.
Can I touch it?
Yes. Yes.
Oh my goodness. So we just saw the world's smallest.
Yes.
And now this is the second largest.
Yes. So the leaves have the potential to get 9 feet across.
Oh my gosh.
And I hear every day that if I were to buy him larger swimming pools, we would have...
They would get bigger?
Yeah. But already I've bought swimming pools and water heaters and filters.
For one plant.
But it is pretty darn amazing.
Oh my
gosh.
Now I saw that you guys had a contest to see how much...
I'm going to pull this up so
weight.
You can see.
Oh, look at that.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, so there was an Instagram competition across all botanic universities who have this. And we did it after the fact. And then...
to see...
Yeah, ours held, I think we just tested it again, and 36 pounds for one...
36 pounds.
Yeah, 36
that is a
pounds.
Child.
I know. I told people, I said, for maybe a small donation, you could put your child on there and do a picture.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Wouldn't that be great? Yeah, or a dog. I mean, who
maybe maybe that could pay for a new swimming pool,
know,
right?
Exactly.
Have a little a picture thing.
When it blooms, which here are some buds, it smells like pineapple.
Wow.
And they are female first. Am I going to get this right? Yeah, female first, and then the second night they become male.
Wow.
Usually plants that are perfect and are one or the other, they're female first, and that way they shut down before the pollen's released. So that way you ensure you don't pollinate yourself.
I'm assuming because of the name, this is native to the Amazon.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you'll actually see these.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
It is a very interesting plant. It's got pretty nasty spines, and it actually doesn't allow anything to grow around it, including its own leaves. It will push out its own its own leaves.
Is that just for getting the most sun?
Yeah. Yeah, no
Interesting.
competition.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have aeration going on.
Uh-huh.
You have recycling of the water going on. You have water heater.
Yes.
You have a steamer.
Yes.
You have
And
grow lights.
Yes. High maintenance.
High maintenance.
And I'm required to bow to Victoria when I go.
Victoria is high maintenance.
High maintenance. I may give her the finger every once in a while.
On a bad day, right?
Every day, Victoria needs something. So we could go take a look at some succulents and the Welwitschia collection.
So this room is not open to the public.
It is not, but I will show you some really cool. This white Sloana here is really rare.
Wow.
And this pseudolithos, it looks like a rock.
I was going to say, they look like rocks.
This is in the milkweed family.
Wow.
It smells like poo or death when it's blooming.
Okay.
And this one I love. It's called cubiformis.
Oh, I love
like
it.
A little cube.
Oh my gosh. Like, these are plants. Isn't that the most interesting thing?
Here's some of our Welwitschia seedlings, along with over there. Oh, behind you.
Oh, look at this. Look how many you have.
Yeah. We have a lot.
Does this go all the way down?
Yes, it does.
Look at that. That is incredible.
I know.
I just think it's the coolest thing. It's
it is
just
a really
so
cool plant.
Interesting.
It really
to
is.
See that? Are they still out in the wild in Namibia?
Yes. So
Namibia, right?
Yes. The oldest ones are about 2,000 to 3,000 years old.
What?
And they are eaten by elephants, apparently. Stomp on them to get the moisture out. So
those elephants. Darn elephants.
I like to point out things we do wrong, because I always joke, we kill plants all the time.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to kill plants. That's how you learn. And I learned the hard way with these Welwitchias is we have to put whitewash on the greenhouse.
Oh, you do?
Yes. So because this is such an old greenhouse, one of our newer greenhouses has automatic shade cloth.
Yeah.
But we have to spray, and we don't put it on super heavy in here. And so when I removed it, I thought, no big deal.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of plants that people know, if they have the Ficus benjamina, that it'll drop its leaves and put new leaves on conducive to the environment.
Right.
The Welwitchias can't do that. So what they did instead is try to die on me.
No.
So just removing and exposing them to a tiny bit more sun, you could see where the burn happened.
Oh my God.
And when they're outgrowing it, right? You could see where they're outgrown it, but there is where I came in one day and they were all crispy. And this one, unfortunately, I think might not make it, but they're all rebounding for the most part. Even that one's trying, but they do not like going from low light to high light.
They want consistency. Interesting.
So,
man.
And that's why these ones are a little red. When succulents, especially succulents, are stressed, they'll block their chlorophyll and have their anthocyanins be more prevalent to prevent photosynthesis if they're stressed. So that's why these ones are red.
Interesting. But they should recover.
They should recover.
So these look like they have 4 leaves.
Yes, because they had their cotyledons.
Oh.
And so they're still young enough to have their cotyledons, and then their true leaves are forming.
Wow.
So they're little babies.
They
still
are. And then these guys.
Yeah, so here's our 2-headed one, our 1-headed one, and here you could see a female cone, active female cone with the nectar droplets.
Oh my gosh. Look at that. How interesting.
And then this is a remnant of a male, and then here is, voila, our most...
Are you going to work on getting the seed from this one? Or?
It hasn't coned yet, so we don't know if it's a male or female.
Look at that.
And of course we will. So there's probably only one other highly variegated one like this. There's other variegated ones, but ours is a highly variegated one in the world.
And then I guess it's a stable variegation because you only have 2 leaves, right?
Yes. Yeah. So this is why when we grow seed, we keep all the strange ones for ourselves, like the 1-headed, the 2-headed, and the variegated. So that's the fun part of growing things from, seed, because you never know what genetics you're going to get.
Yes. How interesting. This plant is just making my brain think, right?
Yeah.
It's like you have to think about it. Like, there's only 2 leaves in its whole lifetime. It's not going to lose variegation because the leaves have it,
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Oh, very cool. Well, Marlene, I have to say a huge thank you for
Yes.
letting me come, taking the
Yeah.
time. What a fun experience for me. And I apologize, it's taken me over 10 years to get here.
Hey, now you know we're here. Now you can visit and see other things that are bloom. I just love showing off our plants. I joke that, don't joke, it's serious. Every plant has a story.
Yes.
Every single plant in here has amazing attributes, ways it survives, adaptations, and I mean, we could take years to tell every plant story in here.
I love it. I love it so much. And I love that this place is open to the public. And I love that it's here for students to learn, because I just think that that is just invaluable to have something like that, to be able to, you know, see the plant right in front of you.
Of course, yeah.
How neat. Well, huge thank you.
Thanks.
I am going to link the UC Botanical Conservatory in the description down below. Plant sale. I'm going to be first in line. Everybody watch out, or I'm going to elbow you.
Yeah, it's going to get ugly. I'm there for it.
Yeah, right?
There for it. I'll be recording that.
You'll be hiding underneath under the plant table. I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.